Good morning, everybody. As we see all the participants joining, I'll just start off by saying welcome, everybody, to our our first virtual event today. We are live from the High Performer building here in Auckland, and just want to say a big thank you to Tim Haycock and the team for making this showroom available. The showroom is available to view the QPOD products and the QuickSet system, including a wide variety of industry-leading products. Before we proceed, I might just notify you and remind you of the chat box. That's a little icon you'll see at the bottom of your screen where you can just cast any questions you have while we're busy with the presentation. This chat box will be monitored throughout, and then we'll be answering all the questions towards the end of the session. So our presenter for today is Peter Crawshaw. So he's our manager and the founder of the QPOD flooring system, and passionate about bringing new solutions and system to the QPOD offering. So without further ado then, I'm going to hand over to Peter now.
Right, we're moving. Right, I was just saying thanks to the High Performer team, especially Tim, and we've got Lexi here today to help me out. Behind me is one of the displays here at High Performer, and that's the QuickSet and QPOD system here. There's heaps of other really brilliant products here at the High Performer building, which I definitely recommend to come in. So it's a great venue to bring your clients, show them the product and the new way of building. So what we're just starting off today, we're going to go through Formwork Systems, touching on standard Formwork Systems. We're going to have a look at QPOD layouts and how they look on plans, how it looks physically, components of the QPODs in general, and installation around services. Some demonstration on standard detailing of steel and around services, showing shower recesses, and then having a look at the online calculators and engineering services that we offer. At the end, we're just going to wrap up with a little Q&A. So like Danielle mentioned, if we can put your questions in the chat box down the bottom throughout the session, and then we'll see if we can answer a few of them at the end. Hopefully we can answer them through the webinar. Good. So moving straight into Formwork Systems. Behind me here, I've just got a demonstration for mock-up purposes only of standard boxing at 300 millimeters. I also want to share with you the QuickSet formwork here, which I've got a demonstration of. So this is the insulated formwork system, internally braced formwork system. So there's a really revolutionary new product that we're working on with QuickSet, which we're going to touch on more in our webinar later this morning. So if you haven't registered for the QuickSet webinar at 10:30, make sure you jump in on that one too. So jumping straight into layouts now, Danielle, if you want to just share with the folks what we do for layout. So here on the screen, this is what we do for every job that's specified with QPOD. We'll do a QPOD layout of all the components and where they fit on the configuration. So if you've got ins and outs in your slab, if you've got angles, thickenings, we'll do that whole layout according to the design of your foundation. So it gives you down the right hand side there all the components, quantities required for the job. So that's a really handy thing. Installers obviously find when installing QPOD, they can just follow that to a T and everything fits into place. Components in general. Next slide there, Danielle, we've got the QPOD components, the standard QPOD components, starting with the standard QPOD. This is a closed-sided QPOD, so with 4 of these joined together, that makes one full pod at 1100 by 1100. So up on the screen there, you can see that pod on the left-hand side. That's a single pod. We supply them as a group of 4, which makes up your 1100 by 1100 equivalent pod. Moving across, we've got the QPOD open 4 sides. It's a pod for continuous configuration over against a raft configuration. So the open 4 sides is used when we don't have any ribs in the foundation. So that's good for 200 kPa ground upwards, basically good ground situations. The raft is better suited for obviously TC1 and upwards TC2. Moving across on those, the other parts here, we've got the 100mm extension. So that's a module that clips onto the pod to create your adjustment, 100mm adjustments. And then you've got caps to cap off the voids where you break apart a group of 4. And on the far right, we've got the QPOD spaces, 100mm, 300 and 400 for the various foundation configurations. And the next slide will show us the 4 QPODs joined together, how they make up the 1100 by 1100 raft. Danielle, if you could share that. So there it is there. So that's how they come supplied as a group of 4, and they all come stacked on a pallet. And you'll get 50 square meters of product on one pallet because of that stackability. So builders are simply picking up a group of 4, putting them down. So those listening in today that are familiar with QPOD would be aware of that and the ease of just on site and the minimal footprint that we have there. I'm just going to go ahead now, Danielle, and just share a physical demonstration of just how to put in the pods. That's what this webinar was all about. So here I've got a group of 4 pods, and I'm just going to go ahead and pop that down in place in the corner here. And if I'll shift my camera for you, you'll just see how that works in real life. We go ahead and put these spaces in the perimeter, and that just butts up against your perimeter boxing. You've then got the 100mm spaces for the ribs. They just clip in place on the pod, 2 per pod, and then you bring the next pod in to meet them neatly. So that just butts up against those 100mm spaces. Your steel then goes down in those ribs. You can see my mock-up here of a pipe penetration. So I'll touch on that shortly, or we can touch on it right now. So when you've got a pipe penetration in a slab, you're simply breaking off a pod. You can see I've pulled one pod off here, and then you're closing that open side off with a cap. So this little bit of void here, we go ahead and use those 100mm extensions and clip them into place. That gives you your adjustment out to the surface penetration, and then that also is capped off by a cap there. Hope you can see that on the camera. Get the different angle. You can see what's going on there. So that's a basic configuration. I'll just show you what we did in the rib there. You can see these rib spaces, they just clip onto the pods and your steel sits down in those saddles. So those clip on around the perimeter, making it a real positive fit to the perimeter boxing. If you want to bring up on the screen there, Danielle, just how that looks practically on a detail. So this is pipe penetrations. So effectively you can bring the pipes in through the pods, or obviously up through the gravel underneath, and create that penetration in the pod. So the next slide there that you were showing there, Danielle, just shows it in a plan type view, just how that steel runs through. So basically where your penetration's coming up to the perimeter there, you're creating that continuity of the steel around the pipe. And you can see the extensions placed in there, coming up to the pipe to fill that void. So the next couple of slides, Danielle, shows this in reality, just on site how this looks. So you can see there the steel in the mesh, and just noticing where the mesh is cut, some extra steel bars go in each direction in 1 meter lengths. This just creates this structure back into the steel mesh. Here it's showing a hole cut in the pod. So this is the alternative method. You simply get a hole saw or a saber saw and and chop out that hole, have that pipe penetration coming up through the pod. You can see a good demonstration of that there, and then the no more gaps to fill in the void there. Standard detailing. Next up there, Danielle, if you just take it off the shear again, I'll just show you what we've got behind me here. This is a physical setup here. We've got a high performer of the QuickSet and QPOD system. This is showing some of the steel and how it actually fits into place in the perimeter and the rib. So like I said, it's a great opportunity to come in here and see this actually installed. Better still, when we've got a QPOD site, we can invite you along and share that with you. So sharing your screen again there, Danielle. So here's the standard detailing. You've got the 3 perimeter D12s, the one in the rib, and then you've got the mesh on top. At each rib termination, we've got a hockey stick bar that's noted there coming in with a bend on it, coming down into that perimeter footing. So that's a standard perimeter detailing and rib detailing. The next slide there shows us a thickening, Danielle. So that's got 2 D12s down in the foot there, and the mesh going across the top. So that's your standard detailing for thickenings. Around services, as we shared earlier, there's an example there of the perimeter detailing. So once again, you're creating that continuity of the steel through the thickening or the rib. And then on the right there, you've got obviously a load thickening, a load wall thickening through the base there, and a service coming through that. So much the same as what you're familiar with other raft systems. You're just really creating that rib continuity through the ribs. We're just going to touch on shower recesses. Next up there, Danielle, if you want to just share that screen we've got on shower recesses. Often a question we get asked is how we detail recess shower pods. So here it is here. We do supply a recess shower pod from the factory, which we cut down 60 millimeters and supply them as per the site layout that we shared earlier on. So that there means your mesh sits 60 mil lower, and then you create that lap of 300 millimeters at the perimeter of that recess. So the pods are recessed for the entire distance of the shower and the 300 millimeters beyond, and then to the very next available rib, really, for practicality. So the next picture will show it in real life. So here's a shower recess formed on a site where you've got the shower recess in the middle there. You've got the pipe penetration coming up. The pod sitting upside down there creates a void down in the concrete for the plumbers to access. And you can see the lower pods, the 4 groups of 4 lower pods under and around that shower recess. You can also notice the steel on the top there, which brings back that structural strength to that recessed area, those bars on the corners. Thank you, Danielle. So that pretty much sums up the main factors and features around QPOD and the installation. If I could just mention, you might want to share on the screen there, Danielle, the online calculator I mentioned earlier on. We do have a material usage calculator on the website, and here you can put in your meters squared and lineal meters and thickenings and other details specific to your slab, and it will poke out pretty much the steel you require based on standard detailing for your slab. You can also adjust that. So if you've got 2, by default, it'll pick one steel bar for the rib, but obviously you can adjust that to 2, and it'll give you your total steel required. Now contractors are finding this very accurate. It's a great check to make sure you got the right materials for your job. It's not specific for every job. It does pay to check the engineered design or code mark design that you've got, slab design, and just check the detailing and do your own summary. Secondly, we've got the R value calculator, which is really becoming of interest of late with the H1 changes, which we're going to talk about shortly in the next webinar. But in here, you can put in your meters squared, your lineal meters, and it will poke out for you an area to perimeter ratio. And then it will give you your R values achieved with different insulated formwork systems. So further down on the calculator, there is a bunch of options with the QuickSet system, and which QuickSet system you require for your zone to specify on your job. So it's a really handy thing that pokes out your R values. Next up, our engineering services on our website. Sorry, we've got the code marked Ready Super Slab slide there. Pardon me, skipped that one. So just go back to that one, Danielle, that's fine. The allied slide. Yeah, so just mentioning there, the detailing I've shared today is based off the code marked Ready Super Slab detailing. So Allied Concrete have included QPOD and now recently QuickSet as standard systems in their code marked slab system. So you can actually follow this manual, and if your house design fits within this manual parameters, such as ground conditions, house size, shape, loadings, etc., you can, as an architect, you can design the foundation yourself without engaging an engineer. Further to that, when it goes beyond code mark, it obviously requires engineering. We do also offer an engineering surface here at QPOD now. So along with the QPOD plan layouts, as you can see on the left there, which we do for free for any QPOD specified plans, we now also offer an engineering service. So your geotech says you need an SED design, whether it be TC1, TC2, if it's expansive grounds, liquefiable grounds, call us. We've got a super speedy system now in processing these engineered plans, which we've teamed up with a group of engineers around New Zealand who work with us to complete these designs. So thank you all for listening in today. That's me wrapping up really. So hopefully there's something there in that installation that helped or inspired, and some of those services at the end. Benedict, hoping you might see if there's any questions that have come in throughout the session. We can have a look
Yeah.
at. Happy to look at that.
Yeah, we have a couple. So one is someone asked, can I as a homeowner doing a new build install the pods myself?
Certainly. So installing yourself. So yes, you don't need to be any licensed installer or professional to install QPOD. Seriously, you can put these in yourself. A lot of first-time builders putting these in find it an absolute breeze. They might have some anxiety being a new product, and then once they get it on site and follow those plans, yeah, really, it's just following the plans, put them in. It's really easy system. Obviously, some intelligence and some knowledge of foundations and steel detailing is obviously required and very beneficial. But yeah, anyone can put these in. Good question.
Another one, Bruce asked, does your TC2 or TC3 include stir-ups, or you can get away with them?
Great question. Essentially for TC2 or TC3, you've really got to create that structural strength one way or another, whether that be an increased height of slab with higher ribs or more steel. So generally means more steel, and that can be in the form of top and bottom steel increasing. It can be in the inclusion of stirrups, or alternative to stirrups is fiber, which is highly recommended. It generally takes away the requirement for stirrups, which makes it so much easier on site. Fiber then brings other problems with polished floors, obviously, and that's really a battle you've got to have. Do we go fibers or do we go stirrups? Always stirrups is going to be a lot more labor and cost, but I guess if you want a polished floor, that might be the choicest route to go down. However, in saying that, I've had plenty of users use fiber on polished floors successfully as well. It's all about the preparation and finishing.
Bruce had a follow-up question. So he was asking if you were to use fiber into the mix.
Yep, so I did cover on the fiber just then, Benedict. Yep, so definitely can use fiber, and that is a great option if that is a choice for the client.
Yeah, okay. And then Chris asked, do you have any Revit families for our use?
Sorry, any Revit files for use?
Well, it says families, but yeah, I think he meant files.
Revit files?
He mentioned here families.
Or Revit families, for sure, for sure. Yes, yes. If you go into the QPOD resources page and have a look under there, we do have 3D model families available for download, and I think there's a whole zip folder of Revit, AutoCAD, DWG. There's a whole load. SketchUp, you choose.
Okay. We have some more. So.
Yep, that's all right.
And then Craig asked, is there a cost for SED design?
Is there a cost?
Or yeah,
for sure there's a cost. So if you have a look on the engineering services page on the website, it does give all the costs for the different levels of engineering. So we've got prices on there directly based on meters squared and levels of house in TC1 and TC2 categories. We don't go up to TC3, that is really quote on application. But yeah, all the pricing's on there for TC1, TC2 categories.
Yeah, Craig, I've linked the services page on the chat, so you can check that out.
Beauty.
And then
it's in the menu on the website.
Yeah. We have a few more. So Craig again, so ask, how do you address durability for bolted hold downs on internal walls with 85mm slab thickness?
Yeah, that's all covered in the Codemark Super Slab manual as far as hold down bolts. Is this referring to general slab thicknesses or an insulated formwork? I guess is the broader question, which we will cover briefly in our next session on hold downs.
Okay.
If you listen into that one.
We've got 4 more. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I think we're right for time, are we, Benedict?
Okay. So Paul asked, when do free joints apply? Is there a certain distance?
Certainly. In the manual, the Super Slab manual, if I refer to that as a guidance, generally if a house is over 30 meters, it is required to put in a free joint appropriately. In saying that, you might have a house that's 20 meters, but has a very narrow corridor joint or an off, a wing going out somewhere with a narrow joining area. And obviously looking at it, you can, I guess it's a designer's perception, but when you've got that large span from corner to corner of the slab, if I may, you're going to get possible movement. You've got to create that free joint accordingly. So yeah, like I say, there's a guidance of over 30 meters, but when there's maybe a narrow corridor and it's under 30 meters, I'd probably design one in as well. The standard detailing for that on the website too, in the suite of detailing.
Yeah. So we have last 2. So
yeah,
Jagat asked, how's the heating pipe goes, and what type of pipes used for heating?
Certainly a great question. So we cover hydronic heating and heating pipes in our next webinar as well. But yeah, we've done a lot with that. And if you can see the display behind me, it's got mesh on it. Essentially, the hydronic heating sits on top of the mesh. and you use a wire tie gun or cable ties and tie it down to that mesh. And essentially that just goes on top of the mesh. You allow a bit more topping, say 110 mil topping instead of 85 mil topping. That allows for the extra concrete to cover for your saw cuts. And what types? Hydronic heating is by far the main that's used, but certainly electric systems are available too.
Well, there was a follow-up question on the chat, but let's answer the one that came first. So do you have any issues with QPODs lifting during the pour?
Lifting during the pour?
Yeah.
Great question. So when I demonstrated the little rib spaces, which I'm showing one here on the screen, they clip onto the pod. And then when your steel comes down in here, that steel really pins down the pod. So no, we don't have any issues with pods lifting up during the pour. So long as those rib spaces are put in, which you need for the steel in any case, that really pins down the whole pod system, which is pretty unique.
And then,
I saw a question there come in, a follow-up question about the saw cuts. Yes, same as usual, maximum of 6 meters apart, and obviously trying to focus them around re-entrant corners and likely crack inducing places.
Yeah, I think we've covered it all.
Beautiful, great. Oh, thanks for the questions coming in, guys. And thanks for everyone joining today. It's an absolute pleasure to do this demonstration. The reason we did it was the interaction we got with our open sites in a live format. So we wanted to put that into a virtual format just with the difficulties of meeting on sites. But with things opening up now in New Zealand, we've also had some more open sites. But I think this is a great way to reach all in New Zealand and further afield to show some of these benefits. So thank you all.
Yes, and just from my side as well, thank you very much for everyone participating and joining in this session, and also this session for QuickSet, which will have 10:30, will be recorded, so it's available to watch again and share on. So also just a reminder about the Construct shows that's happening from June through to November. QuickSet and QPOD will be there alongside Allied Concrete, and happy to answer questions there as well. For more information, just go on the Construct website, register and check the dates and venues there. I think from all of us from the QPOD team, thank you very much for joining, and we'll be in touch again.
Thank you, Danielle, and thank you all again.
Thank you.